An old man lives alone. He lives a life not of good nor bad. The man simply is. Night falls. The night is dark. Dark as it's been for a long time. The man suddenly awakens in the umbra, the shadow cast by doubt, denial. He stirs in the pitch dark. He believes things are okay. He knows they're okay. However, here, belief has little meaning. The only definitive truth is that man's life is gone. He remains in place for some time. He knows where he is, or at least where the person he was before is. Exactly where he wants to be, next to his wife. He remains longer in the dark. He remains for so long that he begins to hear the umbral melody, a song of those who simply are, for what else can the ignorant be? They've sung for so long that those who wail have had their voices go hoarse. Those who cry lay in a brackish pool of tears. Those who call the name of their loved ones have forgotten the faces of those they call to. The man hears the music of those damned to stubbornness, and he knows better. He'll get out. He realizes he has the strength to believe he's in control. He focuses on gaining his strength, lashing out towards the darkness. He strikes. He strikes. He strikes. This goes on for some time. The man is tired of making fruitless efforts to counter his turmoil. The man doesn't give up, however, because his efforts have led to one thing: frustration. The man strikes against the darkness once more, to no avail. Anger. He strikes again. Nothing. Wrath. He strikes and sees a spark of light in the dark for a split moment. Before, nothing. Unbridled fury. The man strikes with the entirety of his remaining strength, and as he makes his final siege on the darkness, from his extended limb a flash of sparks is emitted to the nothingness, and like a match in a room of flammable gas, the endless dark around the man ignites into an inferno. As far as the man can see is fire, roaring, moving in a raging dance. It is as if the man is in an infinite field of tall grass in the midst of a storm. Around the man, within inches of himself, and beyond the horizon, he sees people, about all of which are behaving in monstrous manners. Bloodied hands, faces, bodies, viscera under their fingernails, flesh in their maws, bones protruding from the skin despite the fact they're still pushing on in their acts of violence. These people, no, these souls, thrash, toil amongst each other in extreme acts of violence and rage. The man feels the compulsion to lash out himself. These fiendishly lost souls around him are wrong in their ways. Only he can be right. The man's vision flashes as he's struck in the back of the skull. He turns. In the bright light of the fires that surround him, he burns brighter. His attacker was simply one of happenstance, as it was a misguided elbow that struck the man. The man nonetheless engages, bringing his faceless, nameless aggressor to the ground. The man begins to pummel the wrathful spirit into the stone. Fist after fist connect, blow after blow land. The man stands. His sore, weak hands are covered in blood, bone fragments and gray matter. With his foot, the man turns over the body of the spirit, which still struggles. The man looks upon the face of the entity he's brutalized. He sees himself. The face of the reflection leers back in the two lock eyes. All the commotion and the brutality come to a standstill in the man's perception. The mirror image begins to stand. The darkness has returned and the man is once again alone, with only himself. For the first time in this place, the man speaks. The man pleads for forgiveness. The man is scared. The man promises to be better. The man begs to be saved. The man begins to grovel and cry for life to return to him. The man backs away from the other man who is also the man. The man backpedals for an unknown reason to him. Fear, shame, disgust. He backs away until he's over an unseen cliff. The man falls. He impacts water. As the man sinks in the cold, dark, inky nothing, he reflects. Everything he had, everything he was, everything he could have been is gone. Nothing is left but this, the water. The water that is now filling the man's lungs, revoking his strength, fueling his hopelessness. The man is alone. The man has no one to share his pain with. In his old life, he had kin, he had companions, he had his wife. Now, nothing remains. The man drifts aimlessly. There is nothing more the man can do than let these currents bring him to a faraway place of content. Sound suddenly pierces the darkness. The man hears what seems to be an ensemble of sorts, similar to that of the melody before. Cries, wails, and his own name. All of these voices are those of his loved ones. The current carries the voices, and for the first time the man begins to swim. He follows the current, which only grows strong once he begins to hear the words of the rites that are now being spoken to him. The messages delivered in his memory. The current has now begun to propel the man in a direction that makes him feel an emotion that he thought he never could again. Optimism. Another voice begins to pierce the darkness. Another melody of sorts. Singing. The singing comes from an all too familiar voice. The voice he hears is the same that he'd hear beside him every Sunday, that he'd hear from his kitchen before every meal, that he fell in love with all that time ago. And with the melody and the voice, the light begins to shine in an amber glow above him. Before the man can react, he is cast upon the shoreline. The man comes to his feet. There is no water in his lungs, nor moisture upon his body. The man feels warmth on the beach. The man looks up and sees a sight. An old cabin on the sea. The same that he and his wife owned all those years ago. On the deck of the cabin sits two chairs, one of which has an occupant that the man gazes upon. The man begins to sob. The man approaches his wife. The man accepts that he has found her. The man is happy. He joins his wife and embraces her. The sun rises. The warmth on the man's skin is more pleasant than it has been in a long time.